Um, what if the exact things that are just totally ruining your day right now,
Oh, man. Where do we even start?
right? I mean, like the gridlock traffic or, that really passive-aggressive email you just got from your boss,
Yeah.
or even just that creeping sort of baseline anxiety you have about your bank account.
Right, the everyday stuff.
Exactly.
What?
What if those aren't actually obstacles to your peace of mind?
Which is, I mean, that's how we all treat them.
Totally. We treat them as things in the way. But what if they are actually the literal structural fuel that is required to achieve that peace?
That is a wild proposition.
It is. And that's what we're doing today on this deep dive. We are looking at basically the physics of your suffering.
The physics of it. I love that phrasing.
Yeah, because we're taking a magnifying glass to this incredibly profound, honestly intensely dense module from a text.
It's a fascinating one.
It really is. It's called The Cosmic Tug, Mastery of Vidya and Avidya Tantra.
And just for context for everyone, we're specifically exploring teachings drawn from a larger work, right?
Yes, exactly. From Discourses on Tantra by Sri Anandamurti,
Right.
who is a philosopher and spiritual teacher. And in the source text we're looking at, he's just referred to simply as Baba.
Yeah, Baba.
So our mission today is to literally map the absolute mechanics of the psychological tension you feel every single day.
Map the war zone, essentially.
Literally, if you as a listener have ever felt torn between, wanting to be this centered, liberated human being.
Ideal self.
Right, the ideal. But then you feel the gravitational reality of just being dragged into the mud of daily attachments.
Oh, yeah.
So
Cons.
this text, it actually provides a literal blueprint of that war zone.
And what's so interesting is that it frames that war zone not as like a personal failing.
Wait, really? Because it always feels like a personal failing.
I know. We tend to view our inability to remain perfectly peaceful as like a lack of discipline.
Oh, totally. Like, I didn't meditate enough this morning, so I'm a mess.
Right. We pathologize our own distraction. We blame ourselves.
Yeah.
But the core premise established in the opening pages of this module, it says that the universe is entirely non-static.
Okay.
It is actively governed by two opposing, relentless cosmic forces.
Opposing cosmic forces.
Yeah, and they are locked in this perpetual dialectic. It's a constant tug of war.
Like an actual physical tug of war.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And they aren't just, out there governing the movement of celestial bodies or galaxies.
Right.
They are actively governing the human mind. The human consciousness is the actual rope in this equation.
That is, wow. The rope, okay, I want to stop right there for a second and just unpack a word in the title.
Sure.
Because we said the word tantra,
Oh, boy. Yeah. We need to address that.
right? Because for a lot of people listening, that word has been wildly, just completely distorted by Western pop culture.
Definitely.
It's been turned into something exclusively about, esoteric physical intimacy.
Right, like candles and weird breathing exercises.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you look at the etymology, and specifically how Baba uses it in this text,
It's completely different.
it is a structural science.
Yes.
Like the Sanskrit root tan means to expand,
Right.
and tra means to liberate.
Expand and liberate.
Yeah. So Tantra, in this specific context, is the systematic practice of expanding the mind to achieve liberation.
It's an applied methodology.
Exactly. It's not some mystical aesthetic, it's a science.
Precisely. It is an incredibly pragmatic framework. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
The text, it doesn't ask you to simply believe in some vague, fluffy spiritual realm.
Right. There's no fluff here.
It demands that you observe the mechanical forces acting upon your own psychology.
You have to be the scientist of your own mind.
Exactly. It literally provides a taxonomy for the forces that contract the mind and the forces that expand it.
Okay.
And to understand the expansion, to figure out how to navigate this tug of war.
The text insists we have to look at the opponent first, right?
Yes. We have to conduct a really rigorous analysis of the force that is actively pulling us down.
The downward pull.
Yeah.
So the text explicitly labels this first force. It calls it avidya tantra.
Avidya.
And it uses a very specific operational adjective to describe it. It says it is an extraversive force.
Extraversive. Okay, let's break that down.
It drags consciousness downward and outward.
Right.
Now, when we talk about an extraversive force in like a high-level philosophical
Nice
context,
to this.
yeah, we're talking about the trajectory of consciousness being projected entirely into the external environment,
It's pushing you out.
pushing you out. We are talking about the imperative to secure physical resources, to establish really rigid boundaries.
This is mine, that is yours.
Exactly. And to project your identity onto external objects.
And the text explains the exact mechanics of this projection.
How so?
Well, avidya is the force that pulls the mind into physical attachments and desires.
Okay, so like wanting a new car or, craving a certain food.
Yes, but it goes way deeper than just mere biological craving or consumerism.
Deeper how?
It states that avidya actually binds the mind to the material world.
Binds it.
Yeah, it's fundamentally a binding agent.
Okay.
When a consciousness is under the heavy, unchecked influence of avidya.
Which is most of us, let's be honest.
Right. When you're under that influence, your entire bandwidth is absorbed by the external landscape.
Wow.
It is a state of perpetual grasping.
Perpetual grasping, like you can't ever just be.
Exactly. You are constantly reaching out, attempting to anchor your sense of self to things that exist outside of your core being.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this for a second.
Go for it.
Isn't blooming a cosmic force for, my inability to stop scrolling on my phone or buying things I don't need? Isn't that just a massive cop-out?
It does sound like one at first glance.
Yeah. It sounds dangerously close to just shifting responsibility. Like, oh, it's not my fault I lost my temper at the grocery store today. The extroversive cosmic force of avidya compelled me to yell at the cashier.
Right. The universe made me do it.
Exactly.
But it's not a relinquishment of agency.
It's not.
No, it is an acknowledgement of environmental gravity.
Environmental gravity. Okay, explain that.
Think about it like physical gravity. Identifying gravity doesn't mean you have an excuse to just fall down the stairs, right?
I mean, I guess not.
It means you understand why walking up the stairs requires sustained, deliberate effort.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You don't blame gravity when you trip, but you acknowledge it's the force pulling you down.
That makes total sense. So the text is validating the immense difficulty of the human experience.
Exactly. It is acknowledging that the urge to hoard things, the urge to dominate other people, the urge to panic over your external status.
Like how many likes you got on a post.
Right. Those are not aberrations. They aren't you being broken.
They're predictable.
They are the highly predictable results of a structural force whose sole function is to tether consciousness to matter.
Wow. And the most dangerous mechanism of this tethering, at least according to the text, is the creation of what it calls the delusion of separation.
Ah, yes. The delusion of separation.
That phrase is doing a staggering amount of heavy lifting in this module.
It really is the core of the problem.
So let's really drill into the mechanics of that delusion. Why does avidya necessitate separation? Why does pulling outward make us feel separated?
Because avidya binds the mind to the ego.
Okay, the ego.
And the ego is, by its very architecture, a mechanism of exclusion.
Meaning it has to keep things out.
Yes. It is the psychological boundary line that declares, I exist entirely within this specific perimeter, and absolutely everything outside this perimeter is other.
It's building a wall.
Exactly. The ego is the ultimate symbol of isolation.
Right.
So by constantly dragging your consciousness outward into desires like for external validation or material security, avidya reinforces the walls of the ego.
Because you're constantly defending it.
Right. You become hypersensitized to your own individual needs, your own personal threats, your own accumulation.
And when you are locked in that hyper-individualized state, you just perceive the rest of the entire universe as either like a resource to be consumed or a threat to be neutralized.
Yes. You're completely fragmented from the whole.
It makes me think of like a corporate environment.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
Right. You walk into a corporate meeting on a Tuesday morning, and if you're deeply in this state, you don't see a collaborative human endeavor.
No, you see a war zone.
You see a zero-sum battlefield. You feel like you have to defend your ideas, steal credit where necessary, and ensure your own survival, even at the expense of your colleagues.
That is the delusion of separation in practice right there.
It's exhausting.
And the text labels it a delusion because it fundamentally contradicts the underlying ontological reality of a unified universe.
Okay, that's a big phrase, ontological reality.
It just means the actual true nature of how things exist.
So the true nature is unity, but we perceive separation.
Exactly. The separation is an artificial cognitive distortion. It's generated entirely by that extroversive pull.
So being bound to the material world isn't just a matter of owning property or having stuff.
No, not at all. It is a neurological and philosophical trap.
You genuinely believe that you are this discrete, isolated fragment fighting against a hostile void.
Yes. Avidya forces you to interpret reality exclusively through the narrow, hypervigilant lens of the ego.
Okay, so it's like centrifugal force.
Centrifugal force, expand on that.
Think about the physics of a rapidly spinning centrifuge, or even just like a really fast merry-go-round at a playground.
Oh yeah, the ones that always made you sick as a kid.
Right. The faster it spins, the more violently any mass inside it is flung outward, away from the axis of rotation.
It pushes everything to the edges.
Exactly. It slams against the outer walls. Avidya is the psychological equivalent of centrifugal force.
That's a great analogy.
It takes the mass of your consciousness and violently flings it into the periphery of existence.
You're plastered against the wall.
You are plastered against the outer wall of your own life. You're clinging to your job title, your physical appearance, your bank account.
Just trying to survive the sheer velocity of the spin? That is an incredibly precise translation of the text's mechanics, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. Centrifugal force pushes mass away from the center. Avidya pushes consciousness away from its spiritual axis.
Away from its center.
And just as a physical object, experiencing intense centrifugal force feels heavier.
Right, the G-force.
Exactly. A mind under the intense influence of avidya feels psychologically heavy.
It feels burdened.
Burdened by anxiety, by the constant maintenance of the ego's boundaries.
Which we just talked about. That takes so much energy.
So much energy, and burdened by the fear of losing the external attachments it has been flung into.
Man. Okay, let me challenge the underlying assumption here, though.
Sure.
Because the text states that avidya binds us to the material world.
Right.
But there is a long, highly problematic history in esoteric philosophy of just completely demonizing the physical realm.
Oh, absolutely. Asceticism.
Right. Is this module arguing that the material world is inherently corrupt?
It's a valid question.
Like, is it suggesting that having a physical body, enjoying a good meal, or just participating in society is a spiritual failure?
I see where you're going.
Because if the physical world is the actual enemy, this entire philosophy just collapses into pure nihilism.
That is the trap of asceticism, yes.
Mm.
And the text specifically navigates around it.
How does it avoid that?
We have to be really meticulous with the wording here.
Okay.
The text does not declare the material world to be evil or false.
It doesn't.
No. It states that avidya is the force that binds the mind to the material world.
Ah, the binding is the issue.
The pathology lies in the binding, not the matter itself.
Okay, that makes sense.
The delusion is the belief that the material world is the totality of existence and that your identity is entirely contingent upon it.
I see. So the problem isn't the car you drive. The problem is the subconscious belief that if the car gets dented, your actual value as a conscious entity is somehow diminished.
Exactly. It is the epistemological failure of mistaking the external object for your internal self.
Wow. Mistaking the object for the self.
Precisely. When avidya operates unchecked, it colonizes your entire worldview.
You're just totally lost in the spin.
You are so violently flung against the outer wall of the centrifuge that you forget the center of the machine even exists.
You forget you have a center.
You are fully consumed by the delusion of separation. The text is not setting up the physical universe as a villain here.
Okay.
It is defining avidya as a mechanical, extroversive vector that creates a highly limited, ego-bound state of awareness.
Which means, wait, if that's true, then we are currently living in an era where the environmental gravity of avidya has been weaponized.
Weaponized? How so?
Think about it. Modern algorithmic capitalism is the ultimate engine of avidya Tantra.
Oh, I see where you're going. Yeah.
Right. Every single notification on your phone, every targeted ad, every social media metric.
They are engineered extroversive vectors.
Exactly. They are meticulously designed by thousands of engineers to project your consciousness outward.
To inflate the ego.
To manufacture desire where there wasn't any, and to deepen that anxiety of separation. They have this and I don't.
It's the engine of modern society.
We are essentially living in a centrifuge that has been cranked to maximum speed.
The architecture of the attention economy maps flawlessly onto the ancient mechanics of avidya.
Flawlessly.
It is a system entirely reliant on the perpetual outward projection of consciousness.
Which naturally raises a really pivotal question for me.
What's that?
If we are being relentlessly flung outward by this centrifugal force, and it's being weaponized against us daily,
Right.
why hasn't human consciousness just shattered entirely by now?
It's a miracle it hasn't sometimes.
Seriously, how does society even function? How does anyone ever experience even a fleeting moment of peace?
There has to be a counterforce.
Exactly. There has to be a structural countergravity, keeping the human psyche from just spinning off into the void.
And that leads us directly to the second fundamental force in this cosmic dialectic.
Okay, let's get into it.
Vidya Tantra.
Vidya Tantra, the upward pull,
Yes.
the introversive force. So if avidya is centrifugal, flinging us toward the periphery of the merry-go-round, vidya must be the centripetal force pulling us back toward the center.
That's the exact mechanical opposite, yes.
But what exactly is it pulling us toward? The text uses this specific term, cosmic nucleus, which it identifies as supreme consciousness.
The terminology here is incredibly deliberate and structural.
How so?
Well, the module refers to the individual mind as unit consciousness.
Unit consciousness, okay.
The word unit implies a singular localized node of awareness.
Like one isolated point.
Right. When you are under the delusion of separation, you perceive yourself strictly as this isolated unit.
Cut off from everything else.
Yes. Vidya Tantra is the introversive force that actively draws that individual unit back inward.
It pulls you back.
It collapses the delusion of separation, and it pulls the consciousness toward the cosmic nucleus.
Let's examine this concept of the cosmic nucleus, because I feel like it fundamentally reorients the standard Western theological model we're used to.
It does. It really turns it inside out.
Right. The text doesn't describe supreme consciousness as, a remote entity sitting on a cloud operating the universe from a distance.
No, it's not the big guy in the sky.
Exactly. A nucleus is the absolute foundational center of a structure.
Right, like in physics or biology.
It's the core of an atom. It is the center of a cell. So the text is asserting that the ultimate reality, this supreme consciousness, is not out there to be reached.
It's in here to be returned to.
Yes. It is the ontological center of existence.
The symmetry of the text is really striking when you look at it this way.
Right. Avidya projects you outward into the external illusion of the ego.
And Vidya pulls you inward, dismantling the ego, bypassing all those physical attachments, and drawing you down to the foundational substrate of reality.
It completely reverses the trajectory.
It is an introversive collapse of the false boundary.
Okay, so if avidya is the centrifugal force of the spinning ride,
Pushing you against the wall.
vidya is the gravitational pull of your own true center, attempting to keep you grounded, stable, and whole.
Right.
But here's where the analogy breaks down for me.
Okay, where?
Gravity operates automatically.
Ah, yes.
Like, I don't have to consciously think, okay, feet, stay on the ground today. It just happens.
True.
But according to the text, we have to actively engage with vidya. It doesn't just happen automatically.
No, it requires participation.
Right. It outlines 3 very specific mechanisms for aligning with this introversive force.
And what are they?
Meditation, service, and love.
It explicitly states, when you practice meditation, service, and love, you are aligning with Vidya.
I have to be completely honest here. My initial reaction to reading that specific sentence was like a huge wave of skepticism.
Really? Why?
Because meditation, service, and love sounds incredibly cliche.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It sounds like the platitudes you'd find cross-stitched on a pillow in someone's living room, or like the moral of a children's movie at the very end.
Right. It sounds very live, laugh, love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a robust tactical defense against a relentless cosmic force that's trying to tear my mind apart.
Right.
So how do these 3 things actually function mechanically?
We really have to strip away the cultural sentimentality attached to those words.
Please.
We have to look at them as cognitive technologies.
Cognitive technologies. I like that.
They are not warm, fuzzy concepts in this framework. They are precise mechanical antidotes to the pathology of avidya.
Okay, let's analyze them sequentially then, starting with meditation.
Okay, so avidya is the imperative to project outward, right?
Out into the material world.
Meditation is the deliberate, rigorous act of reversing that flow.
Reversing the flow.
You sever the sensory input. You forcibly detach your consciousness from the external environment.
You literally close your eyes and shut out the world.
Yes. And you turn the beam of attention entirely inward upon itself.
Wow. So you are quite literally swimming against the current of the extroversive force.
It is an act of neurological defiance.
Neurological defiance. That's powerful.
Yeah.
You are sitting in the centrifuge, and instead of staring at the walls flying by and panicking,
You close your eyes and focus entirely on the axis.
okay, that tracks logically. Meditation reverses the outward vector.
Right.
But what about service? Because in our modern parlance, service usually just means like volunteering at a soup kitchen once a year or just being polite to your waiter.
Right, doing a good deed.
Yeah. How does that combat a cosmic downward pull?
We have to recall what avidya builds.
The ego boundary.
Yes, the ego boundary and the delusion of separation.
Right.
The ego operates on a strict paradigm of accumulation and self-preservation.
Mine.
Exactly. It views the universe as a hierarchy of needs where mine is always paramount.
Okay.
Service, in the tantric framework, is the active subjugation of the ego.
Active subjugation.
When you engage in genuine service, you are taking your time, your energy, your resources.
The exact things avidya demands you hoard for yourself.
Yes. And you are expending them for the benefit of another unit consciousness.
You are intentionally prioritizing the other.
Exactly. And mechanically, this creates profound cognitive dissonance for the ego.
Because the ego is like, wait, why are we giving our energy away? We need this to survive.
Right. The ego cannot reconcile the act of self-sacrifice. By treating someone else's needs as equal to your own, you are demonstrating to your own neurology that the rigid boundary between you and them is actually permeable.
Oh, wow. It's permeable.
Service is literally a battering ram against the delusion of separation. It actively rewires the egocentric default state.
That completely shifts service from being just a nice moral obligation to being a literal survival tactic.
It's mandatory for liberation.
You aren't serving someone just to be a good person. You are serving them to dismantle your own isolation.
You are proving to your mind, mechanically, that the separation is a lie.
That is incredible. Which brings us to the third mechanism. Love.
Love.
If service pokes holes in the ego boundary, love has to be the complete obliteration of it.
Yes.
But again, we have to define love mechanically here, not romantically. Not like a rom-com.
In the context of Vidya-tantra, love is the ultimate introversive realization of unity.
Okay.
The delusion of separation dictates that you are a solitary fragment, right?
Alone in the void.
Love is the direct experiential proof that you are connected.
The proof.
When you experience profound love for another being, the strict perimeter of the ego dissolves. The distinction between the observer and the observed just completely collapses.
Because you feel what they feel.
Exactly. You literally cannot maintain a rigid delusion of separation while simultaneously experiencing unconditional love.
It's a paradox. You can't have both.
Because love is the visceral recognition of the other as an extension of the self.
Therefore, love is not merely an emotion in this text.
No, it is gravitational force.
It is the direct pull of the cosmic nucleus, pulling the fragmented unit consciousness back into the unified whole.
The mechanics are completely airtight when you lay them out like this.
They really are. Meditation forcibly redirects the trajectory inward. Service dismantles the ego's monopoly on resources. Love incinerates the delusion of separation entirely.
There are 3 highly specialized cognitive tools designed to systematically dismantle the machinery of avidya.
And the text notes that when you employ these tools, the result is the elevation of the mind and the achievement of inner liberation.
Inner liberation. If avidya is the force that binds, vidya is the force that unbinds.
You are liberated from the heavy, suffocating gravity of the material obsession.
You are free from the constant, exhausting defense of that ego boundary.
Okay, so the logic of the text is incredibly clear up to this point.
Right.
We have avidya pulling us outward into chaotic attachment and vidya pulling us inward into liberated unity.
The cosmic tug of war.
Right. But looking at this, the rational strategic response seems incredibly obvious to me.
Oh, what's your strategy?
If the material world, daily life, the office, the internet, society, if all of these are the primary arenas where avidya operates,
They are.
then the only way to win the cosmic tug of war is to opt out entirely.
Just quit the game.
Yeah, the logical move is asceticism. Sell everything you own, move to a cabin deep in the woods, cut off all external relationships, and just meditate 24 hours a day.
Right.
So that the downward pull literally has nothing to grab onto.
That is the standard reflex of human logic when confronted with the pain of attachment.
It makes sense. If the fire burns you, step out of the fire.
It is the instinct of escapism. But this is precisely where the teachings of Baba in this module diverge violently from traditional asceticism.
Verge violently.
The text introduces the doctrine of tantric mastery.
Tantric mastery.
And it issues a stark, absolutely uncompromising directive.
Yeah.
A spiritual aspirant does not run away from these forces.
All right, no running away.
No running away. No retreating from the centrifuge.
You have to stay on a ride.
You have to stay on the ride. Non-escapism is the foundational bedrock of tantric practice.
But why? If the ride is making you sick, why stay on it?
Because the goal is not to artificially isolate yourself from the universe.
Okay.
Remember the core premise we started with. These two forces govern the entire universe. They are the structural reality of existence.
So you can't actually escape them anyway.
Exactly. To attempt to hide from avidya is to attempt to secede from reality itself. It is a philosophical dead end.
You can't outrun gravity.
You cannot outrun the structural gravity of the cosmos. You must learn to navigate it.
But how? I mean, seriously, how?
That's the challenge.
If avidya is constantly, relentlessly dragging at us, and we are forced to stay in the arena,
Which we are.
we have to go to work, we have to pay our taxes, we have to navigate these incredibly complex human relationships, how do we survive the downward pull without being crushed by it?
The text introduces the mechanism of sadhana,
Sadhana.
which it defines as sustained spiritual practice. And it explicitly details how sadhana operates in the face of the downward pull.
What does it say?
It states that an aspirant learns to overcome the bond of avidya not by hiding from it, but by, and this is a direct concept, consciously choosing actions and thoughts governed by vidya.
Consciously choosing.
Yes,
That implies an agonizing level of vigilance.
it does.
It means autopilot is not an option, ever.
Autopilot is always governed by the heaviest gravity.
Right.
And in the material world, that gravity is avidya. The downward pull is the default biological and social setting.
So if you just relax, you fall down.
Yes. Therefore, sadhana is an active, militant psychological intervention.
Militant. Wow.
It is the continuous real-time application of conscious choice in the face of relentless pressure.
Okay, let's ground this. Let's put this into the excruciating reality of a totally normal day.
Give me a scenario.
Let's look at the Tuesday morning commute.
The classic.
Right. You were driving to work. You were already stressed about some deadline you have.
Heart rate is already up.
Exactly. And suddenly, someone recklessly cuts you off in traffic and slams on their brakes.
We've all been there.
In that exact microsecond, the entire cosmic tug-of-war is concentrated right there in the driver's seat of your car.
It really is.
Avidya instantly flares up.
Hmm.
The extroversive pull screams at you to project outward.
It demands an external reaction.
It demands anger. It violently inflates the ego. How dare they disrespect me?
Don't they know who I am?
Right. And it reinforces the delusion of separation. That person in that other car is a worthless enemy, and I am the righteous victim.
You are being pulled down rapidly.
So fast. So that scenario right there is the exact arena of tantric mastery.
That is the arena. The escapist approach would be to stop driving forever, to refuse to participate in a society where traffic exists.
To stay home.
Right. But the tantric approach demands you stay on the road. You are fully immersed in the friction of the material world.
But you respond differently.
Yes. Through the discipline of your sadhana, you do not default to autopilot.
You feel the violent tug of avidya.
You recognize the mechanical inflation of the ego happening in your chest.
And you intervene.
You intervene by consciously choosing a thought governed by vidya.
Wow. So in that split second of adrenaline and rage, you actively deploy the tools we talked about.
Yes.
Maybe it's a micro-meditation. Like you just force your breathing to slow down.
Yeah.
You consciously unclamp your jaw, and you just refuse to let your consciousness be entirely hijacked by the external threat.
That's one way.
Or maybe it's a radical application of love and service.
That's harder, but yes.
Right. In that moment, you actively dismantle the separation by recognizing that, hey, maybe the other driver's rushing to a hospital.
Or maybe they're just as crushed by the anxiety of their own life as you are.
Exactly. You consciously steer your mind back toward the introversive force. You refuse the separation.
You are counteracting the downward pull in real time.
I mean, let's be real here. As we just noted, this requires a staggering amount of cognitive effort.
It is incredibly demanding.
It is exhausting to continuously fight this battle in every single interaction, every email, every traffic jam, every conflict.
It's a lifelong effort.
Which brings up a massive, glaring contradiction for me.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the universe is ultimately striving for unity, if the cosmic nucleus is the absolute center of everything,
Right.
why design the universe with this aggressive, exhausting, downward pull in the first place?
It's the ultimate question.
Right. If tantric mastery requires this relentless, grueling sadhana just to keep our heads above water, isn't avidya just a catastrophic design flaw?
It seems like it, doesn't it?
Why not exist in a universe composed entirely of vidya, where everything is just a state of perpetual, effortless liberation? Why make it so hard?
That paradox leads us directly to the final and undoubtedly the most profound revelation in the entire source text.
Okay, I'm ready.
It is a concept that fundamentally recontextualizes the actual purpose of human suffering.
The purpose of suffering.
Yes. The text concludes with a striking mechanical metaphor regarding the spiritual aspirant.
What does it say?
It states that through this process of conscious choice, the practitioner is actively converting worldly friction into spiritual acceleration.
Converting worldly friction into spiritual acceleration.
Yes,
The alchemy of the cosmic tug.
that's exactly what it is, alchemy.
We really need to dissect the physics of this phrase, because I feel like it is the absolute linchpin of the entire philosophy we've been talking about.
The terminology is flawless here.
Yeah.
Worldly friction is synonymous with Avijjitantra.
It's the resistance.
It is the resistance of the material world. It is the traffic jam, the interpersonal conflict, the financial anxiety, the heavy gravity of the ego.
All the stuff we hate.
Right.
Yeah.
In our daily lives, we view friction as the enemy.
Totally.
Friction is the thing that slows us down. It's the thing that degrades our machinery over time. It's the thing that causes pain.
Yeah, we want a frictionless life.
But the text proposes a radical inversion of this idea. Friction is not the obstacle to spiritual momentum.
It's not.
No. It is the fundamental raw material required to generate it.
Wait, let's think about friction physically for a second.
Let's do it.
If I'm driving a car, let's say I have a high-performance vehicle. The engine is perfectly tuned, the tank is full of gas, the driver is wide awake.
Okay.
The car represents your sadhana, your spiritual intent, your capacity for vidya.
The internal engine, yes.
Now imagine we place this incredible machine on a surface with absolutely zero friction.
Zero friction.
A perfectly smooth, infinite sheet of pure black ice.
Right.
What happens when you press the accelerator in that scenario?
The tires spin with immense velocity, but the vehicle remains completely stationary.
Exactly. The engine is roaring, the tires are an absolute blur, but without friction, forward movement is a physical impossibility.
You're going nowhere.
The car just violently spins in place, or worse, it just slides aimlessly out of control.
Right.
It requires the rough, gritty, resistive surface of the asphalt to push against.
To get traction.
Yes, the tire must grip the friction of the road so that the kinetic energy of the engine can actually be translated into actual acceleration.
Now, apply that mechanical reality to the psychological framework of the text.
Okay.
The perfectly smooth, frictionless sheet of ice is a universe without avidya.
A universe without the downward pull.
Exactly. It is a reality devoid of material challenge, devoid of the ego, devoid of the downward pull.
Which sounds nice at first.
But in such a frictionless vacuum, your consciousness could never accelerate toward the cosmic nucleus.
Because there's nothing to push against.
There would be no tension, there would be no resistance. You might possess the latent capacity for spiritual growth, like the car has the engine.
Right.
But without a resistive force, you would simply spin in place. Your spiritual evolution would be permanently stalled.
Avidya is the asphalt.
It is the asphalt.
Avidya is the mandatory traction for the soul.
Yes.
The attachments, the frustrations, the heavy, suffocating weight of the ego, they are the gritty surface of the road.
That is exactly what they are.
This completely reframes the entire human experience for me.
It changes everything, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
When you feel that worldly friction, when you are in the middle of a brutal argument with your spouse, or you are suffocating under the pressure of a deadline, the universe isn't punishing you.
No.
The road is simply rising up to meet your tires.
It is an opportunity for traction.
Wow.
If your sadhana is engaged, if the engine of your conscious choice is running, you don't curse the roughness of the road.
You use it.
You use it every single time you feel the downward pull attempting to drag you into the delusion of separation.
Like when someone cuts you off in traffic.
Exactly. And you successfully push back with a conscious choice of love or service or meditation. You are gripping the asphalt.
You are utilizing the tension of avidya to propel yourself further along the introversive path.
You literally convert the friction into acceleration.
You take the base heavy metal of your daily frustration and you literally transmute it into the kinetic energy of your own liberation.
Alchemy.
This is why Baba insists that escapism is a failure. Because if you run away to a cave, you are desperately trying to drive your car off the asphalt and onto the smooth ice.
You're looking for the ice.
You are actively removing the very mechanism required for your own evolution.
Tantric mastery is the realization that the tension between the introversive and extroversive forces is not a cosmic mistake.
It's not a design flaw.
It is a perfectly engineered generator.
Wow.
The universe is calibrated to provide exactly the precise amount of worldly friction necessary for a unit consciousness to generate the momentum required to reach the cosmic nucleus.
Provided you keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That is the catch.
Because the default is still to just let the friction tear the car apart, right?
Mhm.
If you aren't actively steering.
Yes. You have to maintain the sadhana. You have to keep consciously choosing to push against it.
It is a dynamic equilibrium.
It requires perpetual, conscious engagement with the difficulty of existence.
Man, this has been an incredibly dense journey through the mechanics of the mind.
It's a lot to process, for sure.
Let's consolidate the absolute core of what we've unpacked from this text today, just to bring it all together.
Good idea.
We began by identifying the reality of the cosmic tug. Your consciousness is the rope suspended between two forces.
Right.
Avidya Contra is the extraversive, centrifugal reality of the material world,
It pulls you downward and outward.
inflating the ego, breeding desire, and trapping you in that really painful delusion of separation.
It is the friction of life.
And operating in direct opposition is Vidya Tantra, the introversive, centripetal pull of the cosmic nucleus,
The fundamental gravity of unity.
accessed mechanically, not romantically, but mechanically, through the rigorous application of meditation, the ego-dismantling practice of service, and the boundary-destroying reality of love.
Exactly.
But the ultimate revelation of the text, the real takeaway here, is that mastery does not mean escaping avidya.
No.
Mastery means staying in the centrifuge.
Staying on the road.
It means maintaining your spiritual practice, your sadhana, in the dead center of the chaos. You must consciously choose vidya, using the relentless, gritty resistance of the material world as the traction necessary to accelerate your mind toward inner liberation.
You do not defeat the downward pull. You utilize it to propel yourself upward.
It is just a staggering paradigm shift for how to operate as a human being in the modern world.
It really is.
But as we close out this analysis, there is a lingering, almost haunting implication derived purely from the physics of the text we just explored.
There's one last puzzle piece here.
And it is something for you to grapple with the next time you feel the friction of your day.
If we follow the strict mechanics of this philosophy to their absolute endpoint, we encounter a profound paradox.
What is that?
If the entire engine of our spiritual acceleration is dependent upon the friction of avidya,
Right. If we need the asphalt.
if we require that gritty downward pull to push against in order to move inward, what mechanically happens to human consciousness the exact microsecond we finally reach the cosmic nucleus? Oh,
What occurs in that ultimate state of liberation, when the ego is entirely dissolved and the friction of the material world drops at absolute zero?
the friction vanishes.
Without friction, does the cosmic tug-of-war simply cease to exist? Or does consciousness, having lost the traction of the world, transform into something else entirely?